managing English language learning and teaching development in the kingdom, but also broader supervision programs to support the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as a nation that strives to achieve and exceed the goals and aspirations that defined in the Saudi Vision 2030. Mr. Abdulrahman is a passionate educationalist with global presentation and representation experience. And the title of his presentation is Teachers and Supervisors, an Access for the Continued Development of English Learning and Teaching in the Kingdom. Teachers and supervisors are the nexus, that is, you providing connections, focal point, the sharing and cascade of ideas, and being instigators for the continual positive change and results in English language teaching and learning. This informed presentation describes the challenges that English language teachers encounter while they are striving to enact the current English language curriculum as it is intended. It also presents some potential solutions to these challenges and some content in which could be assess the current and future ELT practices in the kingdom and beyond. Mr. Abdulrahman will have 30 minutes for his presentation, and later on there will be time for asking questions and comments. Without any further ado, dear audience, I would like to ask you kindly to help me with big applause to welcome Mr. Abdulrahman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm really glad today to be here in Jazan. I've been here several times and I know the capabilities of this area. This area has great potentials, great leaders. Okay, I'll use this, okay. This area has great potentials, great leadership, wonderful supervisors, outstanding teachers. I've been monitoring the growth of this area, professional development programs, innovative ideas, wonderful people. So the focus of my presentation would be teachers and supervisors, an access for continued development of English language learning and teaching in the great kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's going to be my starting point when I talk about nexus. And what do I mean by nexus? Is the connection. You are the connection between the ministry, between schools, between teachers among you. We try to provide the environment for you to flourish. Dear colleagues in Jazan, I'm overwhelmed by the hospitality that you have provided, and I'm thrilled to be here. I was looking at the opening ceremony. I mean, no words can describe what I have just seen. Outstanding is an understatement of what I have seen. Super talents, highly devoted people. The future of Jazan education is going to be great, and this is something I'm sure of. So, let's start with the presentation. I'd like the presentation to be more interactive, so that we can enjoy as much as we can. Some images you might not like, but at the end, you'll get what I'm aiming at. So, in this presentation, there will be so many ideas that if you're willing to research these ideas, you'll be happy. If you're doing a thesis in your master's degree or a PhD, I believe you will get so many ideas. So let's start with this. This is an image that I got from the internet. And I've been looking at this image for a very long time. Now, what we can see in this image was a student at the beginning of the year, which would be the first square on your top left. If you look at his face, he's really happy. And then, what do we do with him? We start what? Feeding him with the information, or cramming his head with knowledge or whatever. So look what's happening. The more info we give him, he's trying to swallow. And when we look at, this one here. Yeah. So when we look at this picture down on the left, this is the test. And if you look at his belly, it's full of these books, and now he's what do we say? He is vomiting. Everyone is congratulating him for passing the test. But I would like you to look at the first picture on your top left and the last picture on your right at the bottom. When he first came to school, was he happy or was he sad? He was happy. At the end, look at his facial expressions. You can see that everyone is happy except him. Now, this is something that you might consider. And later on in the presentation, we're going to talk and try to see why. So let's look at Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia is a huge country. We have 47 educational directorates all over Saudi Arabia. So you can imagine the outreach to all those schools. We have over 500,000 teachers, 5 million students, 35,000 English language teachers. So it is big. So what can we do? At the beginning, we talked about you as nexus, as the connection, making the connection between the ministry, between schools, between areas, and we support the community of practice and professional learning communities. Let's talk about one thing, word mania. Jazan province played a great deal in word mania. Schools scored great in this activity and in this competition. The end results, 27 schools from all over the world got the top ranking. 16 schools out of 27 were from Saudi Arabia. This is a huge achievement, and this tells us about the potentials of our students and of our teachers. In the first round, first time we do Word Mania, and we conquered the world, 16 out of 27. And that's thanks to you all. And that's why I'm here today to thank you for this. Then, this year also we had the self-newsletter. Can I have a show of hands if you have heard of the self-newsletter or magazine? I saw so many hands. All of you should have heard of this one. It's a place where English language teachers, male and female, supervisors, all interested in education, can be part of this. This was the first issue. And you can go online to selfksa.com, and you can download this one as a PDF. It has so many articles that you can look at, and in the next edition, you will see more participation. It's a good way to look at it. You'll see so many teachers like you with many ideas. When I was going around in the exhibit, I was impressed by so many of these ideas. And I think it's a chance that you go into selfksa.com and download this one. Then we have the Professional Development Project. Teachers from Jazan region were really good. We've covered a lot of ground, and we've trained over 25,000 teachers from all over Saudi Arabia face to face. That's a huge achievement. Now this one, we had an online program with EF and National Geographic Learning. Jazan region was top in EF and National Geographic. They completed all the exercises before any other region in Saudi Arabia. This tells you about you, how excited you are about professional development, how excited you are about improving yourself to be better practitioners. Guidelines. We had people from your area working with us on these guidelines with guidance from my colleague, Mr. Abdullah Al-Badri, and people in the ministry and people from the area. We got these guidelines, and it helps us in designing and building up testing. English for All program. English for All program, if you log into AIM portal, you're going to know all more about English for All program. All of us, English language teachers and professionals here, we should know about English for All. English for All is a program where you log into the AIM portal, and I assume all of you have access to the AIM portal. And when you have access to the AIM portal, you could go to English for All, and you can select the proficiency programs that you would like. We have 5 companies. You select and you log in. You have access, 6 months access. You can choose from one of the providers. You have 6 months access to improve your proficiency at English. And this program is not just for English language teachers, male and female. It's for all teachers from all different subjects. Also, it's for students in the secondary stage. So if students want to improve their proficiency level, they might want to log into the AIM portal. So if you have the time, please go and do that. We have also the NISA project. We are in the pilot stage. It's a collaboration between the ministry and Cambridge University, where we have extra hours for English, when we have training on the Cambridge CELT-S program, Certificate for English Language Teachers for secondary stage. They get a certificate from Cambridge. It's a huge program. And also students, at the end, they take the PET test, and once they pass the PET test, they could go into university without taking the foundation year English. So it's a program that we might explore more. TESOL Saudi, that's a program that's just in the beginning, and TESOL is an international organization, teachers of English to speakers of other languages. We hope that we have TESOL Saudi in the near future. So, this is just a way to say thank you and tell you how the important role you play as professionals in the development of English language teacher in Saudi Arabia. So, I thought I'd start my presentation now, and the first thing that I would like to talk about is the Saudi Vision 2030. Now, the Saudi Vision 2030, we talk about the vision a lot. And in every conversation, we talked about the vision a lot. And it's the guidelines for us to move ahead. So I thought that we could talk about some ideas that's in the vision itself. The vision is an 86-page document. And I encourage all of you to read it. And also, I encourage you to use some of the articles there in your reading passages in the test so students get familiar and acquainted with it. So let's start. So the vision is built around 3 themes. Number 1, a vibrant society. A society that is full of life and enthusiasm. So this is theme number 1. Theme number 2, a thriving economy. And it states here, and what I'm saying here, it's from the vision. I'm just quoting what's in the vision. So, provides opportunities for all by building an education system aligned with market needs. So remember these words. Some of the words I'm going to go back to. Again, aligned with market needs. Okay? So there is a difference. And here it talks about education. We're going to talk more about it later. An ambitious nation. 3 themes: a vibrant society attached to its Islamic values, a thriving economy, an ambitious nation. We want to reach the top. This is a quote from the vision itself. The reason I got this quote, you'll know later in the presentation. The skills, building character, and competencies of our children are one of the most important and cherished assets. Remember these words: building character, competencies, skills. So we see skills now being talked about more than once, and this is all about education. So our role will be to build the students' character, competencies, and skills. How we can do that? I'll tell you how we can do that. And later on, I think you might find some ideas to explore more. Learning for working, and this is also of great importance. We will continue investing in education and training so that our young men and women are equipped with the jobs of the future. I highlight this word, jobs of the future. What do we mean by jobs of the future? It is something that you might want to consider. So we are preparing our students for the future and the jobs of the future. What do we mean by that? We'll talk later about what do we mean by jobs of the future and what does it require. So, let's look at this. Now this will help us understand how English language teaching methods evolved throughout the years. So number 1 will be during the first Industrial Revolution in the 1800s until 1869. So a lot of focus was on the grammar translation methods, where students have to memorize so many vocabularies and grammar rules. They have to memorize these things. Look how old is this method. And unfortunately, when I visit schools, I see people still teach in the grammar translation method. As we went by the second industrial revolution, the audiolingual method came in along with the grammar translation, where there is a lot of drilling. Students listen and drill, so there is a lot of drilling. And then the third industrial revolution, there was a focus on communicative language teaching, socio-cultural approaches, and multiliteracies. So we talk about communicative language teaching. That was in the third industrial revolution. Now the fourth industrial revolution, some people say 2008, some people say 2016. Now, if you look at the focus here, we see the technology it's used here, Internet of Things, Uber, Airbnb, and all these things. So we're looking at, these are the theories that you might wanna explore. And if you wanna do a thesis, you might wanna consider these things. The ecological, the systems, the complexity theory by Larson Freeman, the symbolic competence, task-based learning. So, I would really urge you to look into those 5. If you know them already, that's good. If you don't, you might wanna Google them, look at articles, and try to practice them and learn more about them. One of the things that you might also want to consider is something that's called the global competence. What do you mean by global competence? If you look at our students, they cannot be taught in isolation from the whole world. With global competence, your students is part of this world. So they need to understand and act on issues of global significance, not just within their closed environment. They need to look at the world from a wider perspective. Globally competent individuals possess and apply following qualities. So they have characteristics, abilities to learn about and engage within the world. Try to connect between the ideas that in the vision and with the global competence, so that we are part of this world. These are the 4 dimensions of the global competence. You could communicate ideas, recognize perspective, investigate the world, take action. And also, I encourage you to look into the global competence and see what does it mean. There is a new trend in TESOL called the 6 principles. The 6 principles for exemplary teaching of English learners. There is a book that was released last year with this name. TESOL will continue to explore. This is a brochure of this book, the 6 principles. There's a book called The 6 Principles. You can find it on Amazon, and you can buy this book. The 6 Principles for Exemplary Teaching of English Learning. So, let's look at these 6 principles. Number 1, know your learners. And what do I mean by know your learners? It's not just know their name. No, it's more than that. You need to know about their educational background, about their social status, about their well-being in general. This will be really beneficial for you in teaching. Create conditions for language learning. Not just the physical conditions, but also a caring condition for motivation and for support for your students inside the classroom. Design high-quality lessons for language development. If you plan your lessons well, you will achieve the goals and the objectives. So, this is of great importance. So, the much time you spend on being prepared, you will achieve the results. I'm talking quickly. You can read more about it, but I'm just giving you some ideas. Adapt lesson delivery as needed. What do I mean by that? While you are teaching a lesson, you should have a sense of reflection. Go back, think about what you have done, and make sure that your students are following up with you, are learning. So you need to have this sense of reflective practice. You need also to monitor and assess students' language development. If you cannot assess them, evaluate them as they progress so that you can give them more feedback, enrichment tasks, wherever, so that you know where do they stand. Engage and collaborate within a community of practice. What we are doing right now is a community of practice, where teachers from different parts of Jazan are meeting together and talking about mutual problems so that you can solve them together. Have a community of practice within your school. Talk to teachers of the same subject or from different subjects so that you can explore more ideas. So this is about the 6 principles. So what I'm talking about is going to be aligned with the Saudi Vision 2030. There is a lot of talk about 21st century skills. Can I have a show of hands if you have heard of something called 21st century skills? If you have heard of it, just raise your hand. Not too many. This is something that you might want to consider looking at. If you heard the term the 4 C's. So 21st century is about the 4 C's. Some people will talk about the 7 C's. So what do you think C number 1 is? Creativity is one thing. Number 1 is critical thinking. Number 2 is exactly creativity. Number 3, exactly collaboration. Good. Number 4, communication. So these are the 4 C's. And if you're following what we are trying to look at would be 21st century skills. So these are the 4 important things to look at. Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. Where do they come at Bloom's taxonomy? You have heard of Bloom's taxonomy, and this is Bloom's taxonomy. So this is I would say the new version of Bloom's taxonomy. We start with remembering, understanding, and applying. So comprehension would be here. But as we go up, we're looking at higher order thinking skills. So evaluating and analyzing would be critical thinking, and creating would be creativity. So with 21st century skills, we're looking at the top of the pyramid. We're looking at the top. So, to look for a 21st century learner, you need to have these diagrams come together. You need skills, you need knowledge, and you need character. Have you seen these words before? Where did we see these words? We saw it in the vision. In the vision, it was clear that we should build our students what? Character, and we should build our students what? Skills. So all these are aligned with the Saudi vision. And these are things that you might want to consider. The vision also talked about jobs of what? The future. So jobs of the future. So employers, what are they looking for? If you own a job, what will you be looking for? So let's look at these stats. 68% of global business surveyed assess their employees' proficiency in English. So that tells you how important is English. 68%. 31% of global business surveyed found that job applicants lacked the necessary written skills in English. 7% of the second language speakers felt they could communicate effectively in English at work. Now this is 91% of global business surveyed thought it was beneficial to the company if employees spoke English. So this will tell you about the importance of the English language. So if your level at English, you're proficient at English, you are more likely to get a job than the other one with no English. So that will increase your possibility of getting a job by 91%. No, that's huge. 17% of global business surveyed found that job applicants lack the necessary reading skills in English. So these stats are something that you might want to consider. So we can see the gap here. Writing in English, English language spoken, reading comprehension. You see the gap, 31%, 26%, 17%. This is for global business, and I assume here the gap would be even higher. So what will English language look like in the year 2025? And what would the learners want? And that's in the European countries. So employers will continue to need employees who have high level of English. Okay, again, back to the vision. High level of English skills, again the word skills, including for specific tasks such as negotiations. So this is something a skill that we need to foster in our teaching. Solving logistical problems, solving problems, again, 21st century skills. Presenting a new strategy, presentation skills. So these are skills that you might want to focus on. So the jobs of the future require skills, and these are some of the skills that we want to help our students acquire. So we'll focus on what? Giving presentations, negotiating, participating in international conferences calls, networking at events. These are some of the skills that we want our students to acquire throughout their education, and all aligned with the vision. I'll see if this video works. Can we play the video? Okay, this is Mike Mayer, and he would like to say a few words to you. So I'll see if it works, that would be fine. Huh? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Mayer. I'm Director for the Global Scale of English at Pearson. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to say greetings to all the Saudi educators in the room. I hope you're going to have a great conference. I know the conference is going to focus on 21st century skills, which is a subject very close to my heart at the moment. I've been doing a lot of research into the skills that employers are looking for in those students that you're training at the moment. And I think English language teachers in particular are in a really strong position to train your students for the future, because as much as employers value knowledge, what they are also looking for are the 21st century skills. So they want learners who can demonstrate critical thinking, can work in teams, can be creative. And this is fundamentally what you are able to do as a language teacher. You're training your students in so many more skills than just English language, as long as you make sure that your lessons are not too teacher-centered. So in order to learn a language, it very much has to come from the learner. So even though I know it's difficult in many cultures, you have to try to put the emphasis on the learner and the learner learning by doing, by participating. So I think it's a great future for English language teachers, and I hope you all have a wonderful conference.
So you heard it from Mike Mayer. So what we are talking about is something already going on in the world. So when I first looked at this picture, the first thing that came to my mind that those people were cleaning the windows, right? Actually, they are not. This is a job that was in the 1880s or the early 1900s. It's called the Nakar Abar. That's a strange name for a job title. So the Nakar Abar would go on houses and knocks on the windows so people will come to work, okay, in the ships. And then what happened in the 1940s? An invention, a great invention, which is the alarm clock. So, do we need these people? No, we don't. So what happens to those people if they don't have skills? They might not have a job. Then, this is a question that most of us teachers do. We ask our students to what? What do you want to be in the future, right? I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be an engineer, and all these things. But usually this is like one of the more common answers. A doctor. How many students do you have said, I want to be an app developer? Okay, how to be an app developer? I want to be a blogger. I want to be an offshore wind farm engineer. I want to be a drone operator. I want to be a sustainability director. These jobs didn't exist. Now they exist. We didn't prepare our students to be those things, but if we gave them the skills, they could be whatever they want. We don't know what the future would look like. So time to change. Should we be worried? And this is something that you might want to look at. 65% of today's 12-year-olds will do jobs that don't exist. 65%. 65%. They will do jobs that do not exist. So how do we get a job that doesn't exist yet? What would the future look like? So, we say farewell to job titles and hello to what? Skill sets. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank Mr. Abdulrahman for his presentation. It was really great, valuable, informative. This time is for asking any questions or comments. Is there any questions? Any comments? Okay, this time enough. Ustad Yasir? Ustad Yasir? Ustad Yasir?
Yeah. تكريم باسم الملتقى الاستاذ عبد الرحمن الفريح. كذلك تكريم للمتحدث الاستاذ عبد الله قيسي.
Well, now the camera will choose the first winner of Wall Street cars. Congratulations. You can go to Wall Street corner to, okay?